morning. Welcome to our 86th Coffee with the Commissioner event this morning. It's Wednesday morning at 6:30, and we've got a lot to talk about. So I'm very, very thankful we have some special guests in the room today. As always, we do have our County Administrator, Wes Marino, here to give us an update on county business. Thank you, Wes, for getting up early again, as always. We also have Eric Gilmore, our Director of Public Safety. He's here to give us an update on public safety. And I look forward to talking with him about the Ambubus, the long-running saga of that. And then we've got some really exciting news in Beulah and District 1. We're on the verge of completing our brand new fire station, the Bradshaw McNair Fire Station, named in their honor of those gentlemen. So we're looking forward to doing that in November. We'll talk to him about that. We've also got we're going to get the latest developments on our new fire station to replace Station 20 off of Bower Road. Hopefully there's some movement on that. And then special guests from our development services group. We've got Horace Jones. We've got Drew Homer. I see John Fisher. And then in the back, who else is with you guys?
Tim Day.
Oh, Tim Day. Okay. Tim Day snuck in. All right, Tim, good morning. Didn't recognize you back there. And then a very special guest with us today from DPZ Co-Design, all the way from Paris, France. We've got Marina Corey, who is going to join us to discuss the master plan out in Beulah, the one that DPZ did. And if she's willing to do so, we will ask her some questions about our upcoming master planning initiative out in the greater Beulah community, as well as the master plan and where the status of the one that was also done by DPZ out in Perdido Key in District 1. So lots to talk about. It's early, but we're also, for those who are not able to be here live, obviously we are recording this so that we can live stream it now and then also add it to our website later for folks to watch it. So without further ado, I appreciate everyone being here. And Wes, we'll kick it off with you to give us an update on the county.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
County's doing pretty well right now. We've opened up Longleaf Bridge,
yes,
just in time for school to start, and so we avoided the detour of the school buses. That was a big deal. Yesterday we broke ground on the Delano drainage project, a huge drainage project there in District 3 that we've been working on absolutely for years, honestly, and we've had a lot of work going back and forth with FEMA. Rob McCracken there in engineering deserve quite a bit of kudos, going back and forth with FEMA, working with FEMA. You know, it's an arduous process. It can really wear you out, but he stayed with it, hung in there, created those relationships, you know, and that's important. You know, you see the same thing with Liz Kissel when going after grants. She creates those relationships. Rob has done the same thing with FEMA, created those relationships, and really helped us bring in the funding necessary to kick off this project, get it going. It's a big deal. It's going to be a huge impact, a positive impact to the drainage there around Central Office Complex, Fairfield Drive, L Street, St. Mary's in that area. So a good project there going on. Public Works and Jamie Higdon and Fleet Services. I can't say enough about him and them. We had some issues with our ECAT buses. We had quite a few of them down, and our folks at ECAT, or the technicians, they were having some troubles. They were struggling trying to get them back up. And I called Jamie, and you know, Jamie's just who he is. He said, "It's no problem, I'm on it." And so he's managed to get 5 to 6 of those buses back up and on the road, which is a big deal. And again, it was a huge effort for him to be able to walk in and do that. And just throughout the county, there's so many good things going on, big projects everywhere that are happening. And staff is driving hard. You know, Horace and his guys there at Development Services, they're always driving hard. They're always in the heat of the battle, it seems like.
Yeah, they are.
They do a fantastic job. And public safety flies well too. We're just doing well across the county. You know, the budget is set. We're going to roll into the budget workshops here in September. And then we'll move into the first of the fiscal year, but we're doing well. And the beach season is trugging along. It's hot. It's extremely hot.
Yes,
all of our workers that are outside in the heat, you know, I appreciate them. I mean, it's been 98 degrees every day for weeks now, and 115 to 118 degree heat index. So you really have to be careful how you work the crews in the field. And but everybody's doing a great job. And just a lot of good work going on. And I appreciate everybody and all the departments doing what they do.
Right on. And Wes, are we taking special precautions? I know it's obviously summer. It's hot every year during the summer. This year it seems exceptionally warm, exceptionally humid, exceptionally hot with the heat, you know, indexes. Are we taking special precautions with our folks that are out in the field, or is it business as usual? Tell us about the guys who are out there all day long.
No, we take special precautions when it's like it is the way it's been the past few weeks. You know, you have to let them take more breaks. You got to make sure they have the Gatorade and the water. You know, the clothing that wicks some of the sweat and keeps you cooler. Hats, you know, we provide hats and all those protective things that we can do. But at the end of the day, you still have to let them sometimes get in the truck and cool off with air conditioning a little bit and then get back at it. You know, you can't just drive. You have to give them more breaks. And that's the big thing. Got to be smart about how you do it. You got to preach heat stress. You know, what are the symptoms of heat stress? You have to be familiar with them, got to be able to recognize them and then address them as they arise. So we do put a big push to that as we move into the summer months.
Right on. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I know if you get heat stroke or heat exhaustion one time, you're more susceptible to it the rest of your life. And so I know that maybe the crews may not be as productive if they got to take extra breaks, but obviously safety always comes first, and we got to do what we got to do. But I appreciate that update. And now, Eric, going to you, before we start your update, I got to ask you, we've all watched the heartbreaking tragedy of what happened in Hawaii and Maui. I this morning, as I'm driving in, I hear the death toll is up to 106. It's just so tragic. And the folks stuck in traffic and couldn't get out, the flames both sides. And the ones who did live left, you know, everything behind, including in some sad cases, they had to leave their pets behind and run to the ocean. But I had one of our regular viewers ask me ahead of this meeting, Daryl McNabb asked if I would ask you, could anything like that ever happen in this county? Are we prepared for such an event? It looked like there was a cascade of failures there. The power went out, and the notification service didn't work, and this combined with the high winds. Do you think we could ever be susceptible to something that devastating here in Pensacola? And are we prepared for it?
I will never say 100% it could never happen, but I will tell you we are prepared for it. And some of the circumstances around that were, you know, some of the mitigation factors. You know, when we put subdivisions up or we do building or anything like that, we've got setbacks where we have the residents, you know, have a clean space or a area cleaned out that they're not built in, you know, like in California, they build in mountainside and the canopies and everything. Well, they did the same thing in Hawaii there. This one was a wind driven event. So it had that storm that was pushing the winds really hard. So once you had one structure going, for the fire department to try to get ahead of it, you've got to accept a certain amount of loss and get ahead of it and say, we're going to lose these 20 structures, but we're going to make a stand right here and do everything we can. I don't know all the circumstances about their fire tactics or what they used during that situation, but we do have certain things to help us, such as mitigation, green space around homes, things of that nature, and the warning system. I keep hearing about the warning system that people were not warned ahead of time. And as everybody knows, in Escambia County, you know, we had our trials and tribulations with our warning system. But we'll push a message out and let people know if there's an impending threat. The most recent one that we had where we thought we might have to do anything recently here in the county was Hearst Hammock back in 2020.
Yes.
We had those wildfires running through there, and we knew the wind was going to swap, you know, come out of the south or come out of the north and start pushing toward the homes at Hearst Hammock. And I worked with forestry the day before to make sure we had mitigation factors, burnout from that area. So I think we do a good job of control burns in Escambia County, as far as, you know, we don't let the vegetation build up too much. That way we don't have the huge fuel loads that they had out there in Hawaii. And then, as I said, the mitigation factors that we have in place as far as protecting the residents and the subdivisions from the green space and from the natural vegetation. So, and, you know, if something like that were to happen, we throw everything we have at it and then bring additional resources in. You know, being on the island, your next help is what your next island away. And
right.
You kind of limited on what resources you can bring in a hurry. So, like I said, I won't ever say 100%, but I will say I'm feel pretty confident that we can stop that and cut that off before it gets to the size of that event.
Well, thank you. And like I said, we've all been praying for those folks over there. And I wanted to ask that question right off the bat. So what else is going on? I know we got a brand new fire chief.
Yes. So Adam Harrison, he started yesterday, his first day on the job, or I'm sorry, Monday. Started for Monday, first day on the job. He'll be at the board meeting this morning to introduce himself to you guys. So looking forward to that. Adam's hit the ground running. He's already meeting with his staff, already got his directives. The good thing about Adam is he's homegrown. I mean, he's in the system. He knows the system. He knows where we are. So it's not, I'm going to get 180 days and get my feet under me and see where we're going from here. He's got a plan, a vision, and he's going to start working with his staff. The guys, the crew, the men and women on the line seem to be rallying behind him because they're one of his peers. So
Right.
I'm excited about that. So I think it was a good selection. I think it was good for ECFR to keep things moving forward and get things on track. So yes.
Right on. And I saw your safety report. And by the way, Eric, I want to always spotlight what you do. You do it, corrections does it. You send the board members and the staff a summary. You do yours weekly, which I greatly appreciate. How many fires, the type of fires, what area of the county, what resources were used. It's a very comprehensive report. So very grateful that you send that to let us know what's happening in public safety with fire. I wanted to also ask you about the Ambibus coming up here next month. I can't believe it's on us already, but the brand new $600 million Baptist hospital is going to open here in Pensacola. And I'm told they're going to do a one-day transfer of all the patients from the old hospital to this new hospital. And I know we're going to be right in the thick of that with our ambulance, EMS, and hopefully our Ambibus. Please tell me, is that Ambibus going to be ready?
We're rushing it. It's supposed to be picked up either this week or next week and sent to South Florida to put the kit in. So everything about so we finally got the money from the state. That was what we were waiting on. We had to turn the money back in because the bus was in the mechanical shop. We had to put a lot of money in the mechanical and we appreciate the school board for giving us the bus. They donated the bus to us. So great. And of course, they're not going to give us a pristine bus. So we had to put some money into it.
Sure.
And then doing so, it went beyond the funding for when the state, so we had to roll that funding over, request it again from the state. They gave it to us. I don't know why it took several months to get it back from the state. We do have it. We're working with the vendor to get that. Either he's going to fly up here and drive it back or bring a truck and roll and ship it down. But we're getting that thing down there within this week or next week, South Florida, to get that. And all you got to do is put the kit in. And then a lot of the other logistical stuff, such as the lights and all that, we'll put that on later. We're not worried about that. But he's going to wrap it and put the kit in for us, so it'll be ready to transport. So, but yes, September the 23rd is the move date, and we're going to do it in 12 hours. So yes, that's a pretty exciting day. Everybody's kind of on edge because it's we're doing weekly meetings. Chief Torcello's doing weekly meetings with Baptist Hospital to get that ready and make sure we've got all our I's dotted and T's crossed. And I know weekend before last, Chief Torcello did a mock with 3 staff members, 2 ambulances. They went to Baptist Hospital on a Saturday and mocked the patient coming downstairs, putting them in the ambulance, transporting them over there, dropping them off, make sure the paperwork was right. So they did a mock drill to kind of get the times down to see how long it's going to take to do a turn and burn. So yes.
I can't wait to watch that. I hope someone somewhere has one of those time-lapse cameras to kind of see the buses coming in, the patients being moved in. I mean, it's an aggressive, goal to do it all in one day, but I guess, there's a method to the madness. And I think they're reducing their census count at the current hospital right now and really like limiting some things that are happening over there so that they have the bare, minimum number of patients in there when they do it. But I look forward to that facility opening. Had the opportunity to tour it. And for folks, it's an incredible facility. As you drive by it and, you drive the 110, you see it coming up out of the ground, it from a distance, it doesn't look like all that. But when you get on that campus and you go in those buildings, I mean, it is incredible. What a resource for our community, for Escambia County, for Pensacola, having that hospital, and now the next question is, what are they going to do with their old campus? But there's a million people want a piece of that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But what else we got going on in public safety, Eric?
We've got a lot going on. Of course, we stay really busy, and for some reason here, I just want to highlight one thing. Our EMS system has increased 30 calls per 12 hours for every shift. So we had an unusual 12-hour shift where the crews ran 175 medical calls in 12 hours. And we're getting those things again. We're starting to creep up and getting those things. I've got a toothache. My back's been hurting for a month. I've got my legs I'm lethargic. I'm dizzy. We're getting a lot of sick calls and, dizziness, vomiting and stuff like that. And that typically doesn't need an ambulance for that type of transport. That's a call to your primary care physician or to an urgent care. And in doing that, when we transport them to the hospital, then it, delays the hospitals and we hold the wall at the hospital because now we got those type of people in an ER setting that really don't need to be at an ER setting. So we're going to be running another campaign again about when do you need to call an ambulance? When do you not? 1 bee sting. Yeah, you probably don't need an ambulance.
No.
50 bee stings. Yeah, you probably need an ambulance. So those type things. So we're seeing an increased call load for some reason. It's just maybe the heat. I don't know. It may be just people just, everybody seems a little anxious with the heat and everything. So, and we have had some heat related issues, and it's been crazy. We had one guy call and waited for an ambulance because he was sweating.
What?
Absolutely. He was sweating. So we can't say no. So when we get there, then we have to do the assessment. If they want to go, then we have to take them. So, but
Wow.
these are things that we're facing. So, and fire has been really busy. We've had another round of structure fires. You saw the report.
I
We
did.
had another one last night at a multi-residential. And of course, it's hot on our guys, as Wes mentioned. And what do? We hydrate before shift and during
Yes.
shift. So, those preventive measures we can, because they're in the bunker gear and it's extremely hot and heavy in that gear on top of the high humidity and everything. So we take doing those things, take precautions for the fire guys out in the field. So, but we have been really, really busy. Last thing I want to mention is the Hurricane Center did up their predictions. So
Yes.
we are now going above normal. So I want everybody we're getting into the height of our season.
Yep.
There's 3 areas of potential disturbance out there, 2 in the Atlantic and 1 in the Gulf of Mexico that we're
I
going to
saw that.
watch. The one in the Gulf of Mexico is around a little less than 20% development in the next 7 days. But the waters are so warm,
Yes.
that it could do rapid intensification, real quick. So they need to start being vigilant, tracking these things, watching these things, getting the messages, and make sure you have your preparedness kit ready to go and your plans and ready in place. So, but yeah, we're getting into the height of our season, and everybody needs to be ready for any potential. It just takes one storm, just takes one. So.
And Eric, please describe the resources and the information available at Maya Scambia. Tell us where to go and what we can find when we get there in terms of preparedness for the hurricanes.
Absolutely. So if we go to myascambia.com and go to the emergency management link, you'll find checklists. So it'll give you all your checklists for what you need to have for each person in your family. Reminders about your insurance. We'll be checking on your insurance right now, and make sure you have your medications and everything you need for your family, for young children, for the elder, if you're caring for your mother or your elderly parents, and then your pets. So we've got checklists for all those. And then we've got Alert Escambia, so you can sign up for alerts. So there's a way, if you haven't signed up for alert and you want to be in the know and you don't check the media or the news every day, sign up for those alerts, and we'll send those important messages out. Like a wildfire that's threatening your town or your subdivision or area. We push messages out through that to notify you of the impending threat. So those are some of the resources you can find, and how to mitigate your home, and how to prepare for a storm, and how to prepare your home for a storm with your family. So all those resources are there to help you get squared away and get you what you need.
Fantastic. 2 other quick things before we move on to our main topic today, which is master planning in Beulah. And I wanted to ask about the status of the Beulah, the Bradshaw McNair Fire Station 2 in Beulah. Are we still on, and this could be for Wes as well, are we still on track for November, cutting the ribbon on that and opening it up?
We're tracking hard, Commissioner. I talked with Rick Byers with FP&L last week about the transformers and all that we need, and there might be a slight delay, but we're trying to do a workaround for that. They've been ordered for quite some time, and so we are still trying to put work and push through that, but we're driving hard to meet the goal. We may be a week or 2 behind, but we're working hard to get it.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then finally, any movement with the United States Navy on that triangle parcel on Bauer, so we could finally replace Station 20?
We keep checking. We keep communicating. We keep where we at. Unfortunately, we're not getting a whole lot of drive out of the folks there that we're dealing with in Jacksonville.
Is there anything, is there more that we could do? My understanding, Wes, was that they just needed a parcel we owned, some sort of an easement for drainage or something.
We are happy to give them whatever it is they need. We've communicated that, whatever that process is, however they want to do it, we're willing to work with them any way we can.
You're pretty certain it's not on the skipper's desk here, it's in Jacksonville?
I'm fairly certain.
Okay, well, I'm going to make some calls. This has been burning on the back burner for a long time.
We've been ready.
We need to get moving on that, or we got to go to plan B. Maybe we got to use our property at the Southwest Sports Complex like we had talked about.
Mhm.
I hate to do it because that triangle is perfect. And my understanding was that was the quick mover parcel. The rectangle was going to be a long drawn out process, but we can move quick on the triangle. So I'll make some calls this week. I got that for action. All right. Eric, thank you for everything you and your men are doing. Final question, staffing. EMS and fire.
So we are, I think we're down 14 positions in fire, if I'm not mistaken, but we're also, that's due to promotions and due to some retirements. But we do have the cadets on, that we're bringing more cadets on this month. They haven't just started yet. I think we brought 3 on this week. So I don't know where that number's at right now, but we got additional cadets that'll start their schooling this month. And then we got another group coming in October. So we're getting cadets. We're not getting the certified firefighters like we would hope we would, but that's fine because cadet program is doing what it's supposed to be doing and getting our backfill. And then EMS, as it goes, I think we were down 6 or 7 paramedics. We had some recent departures, and then we're full on EMTs.
Okay,
So
good.
on that. But we also have coming to the board, we got 21 firefighter positions.
Yes.
October 1, we'll have, if the budget and everything goes through, we'll have those 21 positions for fire. We'll fill those. And then we've got 9 EMTs and 9 paramedics that are being approved by the board for October 1 as well to
Fantastic.
add to our forces. So yes.
That's good news. That's good news. Well, Eric, again, I appreciate everything you do. Wes, all your teams out there. We appreciate everyone, what you're doing, and appreciate you being here on the call this morning. Well, here we go. Now we're going to get into something that's been kind of an issue for the last several years out in Beulah. And obviously, everyone knows we've been successful in acquiring that OLF8 property. We went through a very long process to get it master planned. We did a public-private partnership with Navy Federal Credit Union. We had a Restore Act grant of about $1.5 million that we were going to utilize to master plan the OLF8 field once we acquired it. Fortunately, we were able to work with our partners, again, a public-private partnership with Navy Federal Credit Union, in which they paid for the master planning process, and we were able to transfer that $1.5 million that was earmarked for master planning OLF8 out to the Pensacola Airport to build jobs there with ST Aerospace as a part of that big MRO package. So a lot of moving pieces, but at the end of the day, we had charrettes. It was right in the heart of COVID, and I'm very, very happy this morning that we have one of the persons behind the master plan that we did complete out at OLF8. Marina Khoury is joining us this morning, very patiently from Paris, France. But it's not as early in the morning there as it is here, though, right?
No, it isn't.
Well, thank you for being here. And then, of course, we have our group from Development Services. We have Horace Jones. We have Drew Halmer, we have John Fisher, and we have Tim Day from the Environmental Department. And we appreciate everyone being here because we've got a pretty big meeting a week from tomorrow. We are going to kick off our master plan for the greater Beulah community. It's hard to believe it. We're actually here at the finish line. It's been something that I campaigned on back in 2015 when I first ran for this position. A lot of folks out there that I talked to said, hey, the growth is out of control. We need a better, more intelligent strategy. And it's just taken that long to get the funding lined up, to get everything, all the boxes checked, the I's dotted, the T's crossed. We did a series of community meetings. We had impaneled a 9-member district advisory committee out there, and we took all of their work. We had over 5,000 surveys by Beulah residents that we compiled through University of West Florida. And I'm assuming, Horace, that this is going to you. We're going to turn over all that work product from our Northwest District 1 Advisory Committee to the master planner. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. And they do have that data. With Tim and John here, they do have that information from all the surveys. Yes, sir, they do have that.
Fantastic. So tell us about this meeting a week from Thursday. Drew, what is the goal? We're going to have we'll have the contractor out there, and is it just an introduction, or are we going to actually be rolling up our sleeves and getting to work next Thursday?
So next Thursday, the 24th, 6 to 7 p.m. at the Beulah Middle School. That's where the meeting is going to be. The team from Sigma is consulting group is running the show on this.
Okay.
So essentially, this is their the first public outreach. Okay, there have been meetings with staff going on continually. John, Tim, been very involved in that. The goal for the meeting on the 24th is to hand out additional questionnaires. They're going to have some interactive activities there, basically, from all the folks who attend, trying to find out, hey, where do you live? Here's a list of concerns, questions. They want to find out from the public. Yes, we do have the Haas Center survey. it's been a couple of years. They're trying to gather some more current information, I guess. I'm sure the same basic ideas are there, the challenges of growth there and the opportunities, let's face it, that with OLF 8, things change. Okay, it's kind of the elephant in the room for that overall master plan and has to be factored in. So the goal for that meeting is, once again, that initial public outreach and gathering citizen information. They're the ones who know. We can't be out there on every single street corner understanding the issues. We've got to have the citizen input.
Okay, very fair enough. And I'm looking forward to that meeting. I'm actually playing in a charity golf tournament before that, so I'll be coming in. I'll be coming in kind of rugged, but I will be there at 6 o'clock with the audience, because, like as you said, Sigma, this is their show. I'm there, just as a resident that lives out there, and I'm looking forward to it. Let me ask Marina a question. Obviously Beulah, you're very familiar, and you and your company having done the master plan for the OLF 8 field. One of the questions I've got from citizens is, because Beulah is so built out already, is it still beneficial to do a plan? I mean, I've had them ask me that point blank. You're 20 years late, but gosh, I'm like, well, I don't have a time machine. I wasn't here, but your expert opinion, I don't think it's ever too late to try and be intelligent in the way we grow. But what is your professional opinion on that?
No, I agree. I don't think it's ever too late either. I mean, had we moved forward with it, we would have been looking at places that are stable and want to remain the way they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of neighborhoods that may not change. There are areas that are that may transform or evolve a little bit with the introduction of a few new uses, trying to find nodes for neighborhood centers where a little bit of retail can come in, or people can have access to some of their daily needs. So identifying where those make sense in the entire Beulah area, trying to find ways to connect some of the greater open spaces or the community amenities through bike paths or greenways or that sort of stuff, and then identifying some sites like OLF 8 that really can transform themselves and really make a name for Beulah, including the location of the town center, which is one of the things that I would presume Sigma would also agree that a town center at Beulah makes sense in that location. They may come up with another one, who knows? Mm-hmm. But anyways, that's how it's never too late. And places grow and evolve and morph over time. The issue is what places shouldn't evolve at all, and they should be far and few in between. What are the building types that you can begin to even introduce in some of the more stable neighborhoods that may not change the character of the place, but begin to allow for more affordable units? Like, for example, where should accessory dwelling units be permitted?
Right.
Should they be permitted everywhere, or would you only allow them to be permitted in some neighborhoods, and under what conditions? Those sort of stuff. So even the introduction of accessory dwelling units can help address your affordability issue little by little, in ways that don't scare people by thinking that their neighborhoods are going to change so much. And then the other big one is really, where can connections be made? Street connections, even pedestrian connections, but really to try make your street networks a little more robust and try to find ways to disperse the traffic.
Yeah, all those answers that you've given, I remember those were prominently featured in the citizen input that we got back from the Haas Center. Everyone wanted ways to be connected. They wanted a walkable community, a bikeable community. They wanted less development. That's a tough one to tackle, because people, you got to balance these things with people's individual property rights. When they buy property with a certain zoning, they have some rights to develop those properties. But I appreciate that answer. So let me swing it back to Tim. Tim Day from Environmental. District 1 changed after the redistricting, and I was fortunate to we were fortunate. I believe we were fortunate to get District 1 back. Get Perdido Key back into District 1, where it had been for 75, 80 years before the year 2000. So we've got Perdido Key back. And one of the things, and I'm a big proponent for public beach access out there, which we fortunately we found that there's a lot of those parcels that have that easement. And I know that Perdido Key has a master plan that was implemented before I took office, before I ever had jurisdiction of it. I spent a good deal of time out there, and I've read through that master plan. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. We built the roundabout. I remember seeing that prominently featured in the pictures, but Perdido Key hasn't really developed as that master plan had envisioned, I guess, for lack of a better word. Why is that, Tim? Is it the combination of the habitat conservation plan and the master plan, or why do you think that is? Or is it the building cap? What do you think is keeping Perdido Key from that picture that I see when I read the Perdido Key master plan?
It's, so a lot of it has been timing.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that have held it back a little bit is getting sufficient rooftops constructed on the key and in the greater kind of lower Beulah area to help support the commercial that's proposed. In talking with some of the landowners out there, we're actually getting very close to commercial taking off.
Okay, good.
It's, you know, there are several town center nodes. They're pretty much geared up. But it's, there's one large subdivision about to be constructed that was approved a couple of years ago. And there's another one that's proposed, and just talking with the commercial people, once those two are completed, they're expecting to be able to start easing commercial onto the key, and then we'll actually start seeing the fruits of that master plan.
Okay.
But-
Well, you know, we do, like I said, we have the master plan and we have the habitat conservation plan. And so far as I know, whether it was my predecessor in that district or myself, we've not varied from that master plan. So far as I know, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that we have. I think the county has maintained the spirit and the letter of that master plan. Is that correct, Horace?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're absolutely correct. And as Tim stated, John Fisher, basically one of the lead planners out there, we do have several projects coming that's in the queue that are abiding by the terms and condition of the Perdido Key master plan. But timing sort of with COVID and all the things sort of slowed it, but it's working, Commissioner. It's moving and people are abiding by the developers. They want to do it, and we do the habitat conservation plan is a driving force. They make those accommodations because we got our own HCP with Tim assistance. So it's moving.
Okay, good enough. Well, I mean, I guess these things, obviously, you know, they take time. And so that kind of brings me to the current master plan that we have in Beulah. You know, as you know, Marina, you lived it intimately with the board, and, you know, we had ups and downs, but at the end of the day, and I said this publicly at the meeting, I mean, it's an incredible plan. It came out very, very nice, top notch. And if we're able to find a developer to build it that way, I mean, I think it would be a fantastic amenity for the community, the county, the region, all of the above. But I do have some questions for you. And again, I appreciate you being here. But I guess the question is, I mean, we've had 3 offers on that property, and this is to you, Marina, and each and every one of those offers, the very first stipulation is we need relief from this master plan. We need relief from these codes. We need relief. So why do you think that is? Is there something in the plan that's making it difficult in that demographic to be commercially viable?
Well, so there's a couple of things. There's a long answer. So the first one would be, what relief is needed? And they don't specify. I mean, I went to look, and they just say they want relief from the code. I just looked at the DR Horton one. I didn't look at the others. So keep in mind that the master plan is a guiding document, right? Like in Perdido Key, we master planned over other people's property. So they don't have to follow it to the letter, but the intent should be followed. And so when we have worked with other cities and done plans for them, and actually Vero Beach is going through one right now where we did a master plan. They put out a developer RFP, and they want the developers to meet the intent of the master plan. But the difference with OLF 8 is that there is a code. So the code is the part that really should be that the developers should need to adhere to. And if they want relief, like, why not start off by saying, we understand you may want relief. Where do you want the relief? Why are the reasons you want the relief? Start off with the DPZ master plan and then tell us why you want to change it. So for example, do you not want the town center there, or do you want the town center? The town center makes sense from a market standpoint where it is, but beginning to understand why they want the relief, I think, is important. And keep in mind that when the code was written, there are administrative waivers that can be provided for a whole host of items. You know, someone can't meet the exact parking requirements. It can be, you know, or meet a setback requirement. It can be administratively done because it's an objective standard and there's a percentage attached to it. I will argue that it is not a more, the buildings have to behave better vis-a-vis the public realm. You know, they have to meet the street. That doesn't add to the cost of the building. They have to hide the parking. That doesn't add to the cost of the building. The streets are narrower. That in some respects is a savings to the developers who have to put them in. We added additional land uses. So there are ways in which developers, when they look at that code, and typically developers will be initially afraid of the code because it's written in a different format, and they seem to think that they have a lot more they have to comply with, but they have to weigh it against what they had to do before. And in the balance, parking, there are parking reductions, which help saves money. They can build more compactly and a little bit more on the site. If you remember, we increased density slightly. That's a way they can make money. So there really is there's a give and take. Now, for example, vinyl was precluded. This was decided in consultation with your planning department, with Andrew
Absolutely.
and with John. And now, if, for example, DR Horton wanted to do vinyl, well, they could ask for an exception, and that's something that you guys can say yay or nay if it meets the intent of the code. Like if they wanted to do chain link fences, well, we said don't do chain link fences. They could say, well, we want to do it in here or not there. But what I would hope you all would do, because you did, it was a plan that took a long time to get to, was to push back and say, where do you want to change and why? And as long as your change meets the intent of the code, if you remember the code, the very first page has 6 or 7 points that really say, this is what this code is about. This is what the community said they wanted in Beulah. As long as it doesn't meet that, as long as it meets that, it's okay to change. It's okay to tweak with the master plan or change it. There are some things in the plan that are really non-negotiable, and there are some things that should be negotiable. So to us, what should be non-negotiable is, so for example, DR Horton had one size lot, right? They had no alleys, which meant that if they were ever going to do townhouses, the townhouses would be front-loaded. Well, a townhouse that's front-loaded is not a townhouse. The entire frontage is taken up with parking. That's going to decimate the idea of a sidewalk or walkable streets, right? So in those conditions, we would expect the planning department to say, no, if you want townhouses, you put in alleys. If you want to do single family homes without alleys, well, then there are ways to do it. The lot has to be wider. You have to hide the parking. It can't take more than X% of your frontage, so that it doesn't overwhelm the pedestrian experience. Because really, what is the elements that are non-negotiable is not a lot. It's not having a lot of blank walls, having sidewalks that are wide enough, and making sure the buildings meet the street in a way that really create outdoor rooms for the streets. There's nothing in the code, and I went and I looked at it again before this call. I don't see anything, and I would love to hear from from John and Andrew and Horace if they feel otherwise. Is there anything in this code that is really, really onerous? But I would ask you to ask DR Horton or the others, what is it about the code that you want to change and why? Because I think it will really help you understand where they're going.
Well, I can answer to an extent. I've spoken with several people who have actually bid the project, and I've spoken with several who have not yet bid the project, which has got me concerned. But what I've heard from them is they can get about 70%. And I'm speaking in generalizations, kind of mixing all together what I've heard from these guys. And they can get the uses right, they can get the streets right, but some of the form code makes things incredibly expensive. As you know, Marina, we got challenges, and one of the challenges we face as a community, not just Beulah, not just this part of the county, but county-wide and the city of Pensacola, is affordable housing. I mean, the rents are incredible right now, and it's due to a lack of supply. You talked to the economist. We had Rick Harper on the coffee 2 months ago, and he said, Jeff, look at this chart. We haven't kept up with the growth. And so on one hand, when we go to approve an apartment complex or a new development, we have the existing residents who already have a home or a nice place or an affordable place to live. And they come to the meetings with their hair on fire. They want no more growth. So we got that on one side. On the other side, we have people saying, we've got to build more or else dumpy apartments on Davis are going to be $1,800 a month, which is unbelievable, which is incredible, but that's what they're going for. So with that as the backdrop, I'm told specifically as it relates to OLF8, if they're going to do single family homes where they can make a profit, if they do it strictly by the master plan's form code and their design, the alleys and all these other things, minimum 600,000 is what they got to sell them for to make a profit. And, they believe that the market, is a 350 to 450 market. So I think that's one of the reasons. And Horace and Drew, I mean, Each
Well,
one of
hold on.
these. Yeah, no,
No, I'm
please.
sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I would push back on that, because what OLF8 allows is for a whole range of single family homes,
Mhm.
right? So they can do cottages, they can do senior housing, they can do one-story homes, they can do two-story homes. We're allowing smaller lot sizes, as you remember.
Mhm.
And so there's a wide range of housing that's allowed. Not every single family home requires an alley. It depends on the size of the house. So I would really like to hear, what are the issues what is that 30% that is so onerous? Because the position of a building is not
Mhm.
any more different. And the materials slightly, yes, I can add, but keep in mind that they're allowed to build more compactly, and there's a much greater range of building types, not only from a residential standpoint, from a commercial and industrial as well, that's permitted, which
Mhm.
should give them an option to do. We did design a project where the developer built everywhere from a small 1.5 story bungalow for 150,000 to $1 million in the first phase, right? And this was out in the middle of nowhere in Missouri, outside of St. Louis, because of the range of building types that the plan permitted. And he built them very, very, very affordably. So I think I don't understand why they're saying 600,000 is the minimum, because unless they're gold plating the inside for whatever reason, which is, we don't touch.
Sure. Well, and again, like I say, I'm trying to put all together and kind of amalgamate the different comments that I've heard back. But I do notice in the latest offer we've got from the Eisenhower Group, which is a giant developer down in Tampa Bay area. They do stuff all over Florida. They do a little more of a high end type residential, but immediately in their offer, they're looking for changes to the future land use. They're looking for changes to the ordinances. And these folks, they're going to lay out 35, 40, 42, 45 million for a big chunk of property. They are naturally, from a business perspective, they're going to ask for what they need up front. They're going to ask for approvals up front before they lay out their capital. And you can't really blame them for that. But again, and again, we don't have the time to go into every aspect of all the specifics, but a larger issue I see is that they've seen the master plan. Obviously, they know it's there. We have it in our codes of ordinances. Everyone knows it's there, and yet every offer that comes in, the first thing they want to do is get away from it. Now, is that because that's outside of their business model, what they like to do? Do they have things in the can already and they don't want to change from it? Or is it these cost things that they're telling us that they're cost prohibitive? I mean, I guess we'll never know. The problem that we're having is we won't get to that information you're looking for, Marina, and that I'm looking for, if we can't get off first base and get past their initial offer letters that request everything. So I wanted to ask Drew and John, I don't know how deep in the negotiations you guys were with Breland, with Eisenhower, and with Horton and Sterling, but do you know offhand any one or two particular items with the master plan that's driving these folks to ask for these variances right up front?
Well, Commissioner, the only thing we've been involved in, there were some questions from some of the Horton folks about specific uses.
Mhm.
And these are things that could be looked at. It's the question that John and I had was why? Some of them seem kind of outside the range of what we were expecting to hear those possible changes, but we emphasize to them, and we would to anyone else, as Marina said, there are ways to waive some of these requirements, and the BCC was quite good in my opinion, in making sure this is a plan that has local control.
Mhm.
Yes, we have to go to the state with it, but as far as making any of those changes, that rests with the BCC. So that provides a bit of mobility in a way we wouldn't have if we had to go to the state asking.
Well,
So
you've
we can
segued
look at
into-
each one.
No, you've segued into a great question. And Marina, I want to ask you this question specifically because the state passed Senate Bill 102 last session with a lot of fanfare and a great bit of back padding and celebrations. They won. But what they did was they preempted our ability to manage commercial property in our county. And they did that to the counties all around the state and the municipalities. And so anyone with a commercial piece of property can now go build giant apartment complexes. It's all under the guise of affordable housing. But the problem there is, I get back to what I said before, you try and approve an apartment complex anywhere near an existing neighborhood, you're going to have 150 to 200 people that they want to put a hit out on you. That's how upset, that's how angry they get. The infrastructure is not sufficient. They all have every reason why. And a lot of times, the reasons are valid. If the state suddenly imposes itself in that way, we don't have control. And I'm very concerned, Marina. That's why the board has moved to pull about 250 acres back. We did not want to sell it to one buyer who says, yeah, this will be commercial for your job creation. And then the minute they buy it, they turn around, okay, bring in the apartment complexes because the state says we can do it and you've got no say. What do you say to that?
I know. I mean, the Live Local Act is I understand the reasons why they want to do it. It feels way too blunt an instrument in our mind. Because it's not remotely contextual, and you can go as high as whatever's allowed. You're allowed within a mile. You can go to the highest density. Now they do have some pretty rigorous requirements for the affordable units. I don't think everybody's going to jump on it, and I also think I thought it included industrial lands as well, but I may be mistaken. It does too. So even parcel that's zoned industrial could have residential on it. So, and I know that there's developers lined up everywhere, including in Miami. If you can imagine, where you have 2 stories that are capped. We're capped at 2 stories, and now you can go, 80 stories if you're near downtown. So there's a lot of people that are going to capitalize on it. I don't know the answer to the Live Local Act at all, because they've taken it out of your hands in some respects, because they are so desperate for affordable housing. I think they're going to begin to tweak it. All it's going to take is one project that is in the absolute wrong location for them to realize that they need to contextualize it a little more. So with respect to OLF 8, it is an issue that you have to contend with. But I wanted to say something else. Codes are always amended. They're living, breathing documents, as we always like to say, and you will have the ability to modify codes. So I just want to go back to D.R. Horton and those that say they want to change 30%. I would really encourage you and staff just to say, insofar as tell us exactly what you want to amend, and we're open to it, as you should be, as long as you're meeting the intent of the code. And there's I went back to check. There's 10 statements there, which are not. Which Beulah deserves. You're spending a lot of money to redo your master plan. There's no reason why you couldn't have a downtown it'll be much smaller, but just as good from a pedestrian and an urban standpoint as Pensacola does. And so, the Beulah residents deserve that. So why do residents object to multifamily housing? Because so often it goes in the wrong location, and I hope your master plan will really tackle that carefully. It goes in the wrong location where, everybody has to walk everywhere. Has to drive everywhere and it's surrounded by parking. So it's not very good. It typically doesn't look very nice. It's in the wrong location, and it aggravates traffic for everyone. So it's understandable that people object to it. On the other hand, if it's provided in your town center above retail, or even adjacent to your town center, as we see it all around the country, that's a very different proposition. People will naturally understand, oh, look, now I can walk to a restaurant or across the street to get to it. I understand why there's residential here. And I understand why maybe there'll be a little bit of affordable housing here too, because there's a lot of land that's available. What's so nice about OLF 8, 540 acres is so large. You have the ability to do it all. You have the ability to have a tremendous amount of industrial. You have the ability to have a wonderful town center, and you have the ability to accommodate as much housing as you can in a form that is different to everything else that you have. Because remember, by 2030, more than 65 or 70% of households will be 1 or 2 people households. That means we're naturally moving towards smaller units anyways. So what this code does is provide you with the mechanism to do smaller homes. So I would be telling D.R. Horton or whomever, the other group, design smaller homes, design empty nester homes, design senior housing. It can, as long as the materials are good, it can be a delightful thing and not decrease or depress values at all.
Well, the good news on that, and I'm going to ask your opinion about this, because with 3 offers now, each of which we don't even start from jump until we give all these concessions and all these variations from the existing master plan. With 3 of those now, and then plus you add in the Live Local Act to the mix, What I'm going to discuss with the board today, and I want your thoughts on it too, so I can bring it to the board members, and is we're never going to sell it industrial or commercial now that we have that looming over our heads and we've lost the control. One of the things that people are most angry with me about out there in Beulah, among other things, is the housing going on the field. A lot of them, even the ones that hate my guts, agree with me when I said I never wanted any housing out there. Of course, I don't want to refight that battle. You know, we came to a compromise. So when these folks come in right away and they want changes that could either increase or decrease the housing, you know, I pay close attention. But the Live Local Act jeopardizes all of that portion of the master plan that was designed for what's really at my heart, the reason we got that land in the first place, which is job creation. So what I'm bringing to the board today is that we carve off the 250 acres. The board at our last meeting or at a recent meeting said, look, we want to pull the 250 acres back, specifically so that a developer doesn't come in there unscrupulously telling us, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. The minute they get that property, boom, they're building apartments, because that's where they're making money, Marina. That's the bottom line. They build these cookie cutter apartment complexes in there. They make a fortune. That's why these mixed use developments are coming in. Oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll do shops, we'll do this. And all they do is the residential, and the rest of it stays wooded. They never do part two. So I want to pull the commercial acreage out and start with our job creation. That's what I'd like to do, because I think with Live Local, I don't know if we can tie that portion. And then the good news for you in the master plan and the folks in Beulah is the board has signaled, I mean, a majority of the board has signaled their intent to follow the spirit of the master plan. In fact, one of my board members says he doesn't care if we ever sell the rest of it until we get someone that'll do it just like the master plan. I live across the street. I would love nothing better than a beautiful facility across the street, walkable streets, shops, a restaurant. I've yelled this over and over. I'd love just one full service restaurant in Beulah where I can get a steak and a glass of wine without driving to Pine Forest or going down Mobile Highway. I think we deserve it. We're enough out there, but I don't know that we're ever going to get a combination deal with Live Local Act now hanging over our head. So I want to pull that separately. Can that master plan still survive if we pull the commercial portions out and move forward with job creation, leaving the 280 or so acres for the DPZ master plan? Can that survive?
Yeah, I think it can. I mean, but because if you keep the land, as I understand it, if you keep the land zoned industrial, a developer for job creation, a developer can still come and do housing there. They can, because it's zoned industrial.
Well, but the thing is, we're gonna hold the land, so we control it.
I see. Then you can control it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, and 90% of industrial uses are completely compatible with residential, anyways. So if you're depending on the type of uses you want to get in here, and remember, we gave you a whole declension of building types for industrial. Even the larger, the very large building, not the huge distribution centers, of course, but the vast majority of uses that are going to come in now don't require a tremendous amount of space, and they can be designed in such a way that they're not detrimental to future commercial or residential uses around it. In fact, it can be designed to be, an amenity, makerspace, warehouses that look kind of cool. As long as they have windows on the street, the back can be whatever it needs to be, and we were careful with the master plan to do that. So I don't think one precludes the other at all.
Okay, good.
If you hold off.
Yeah, I mean, we have a very valuable parcel up there. We're building Frank Reeder Road. We're making it a much more robust road with sidewalks and much in order to accommodate the trucks that will naturally come in when we complete the OLF or the Beulah interchange going up Beulah Road to Isaacs Lane, where we're going to have an interchange. It's funded in the 10-year plan. It's coming. So with that in mind, I wanted to ask you this because boy, what a great conversation. And again, I appreciate all of you all being on this call. Horace, your group, Drew, Tim, John, appreciate you, Marina, Wes, and Eric. But
can I add one more thing, Commissioner?
Please.
Sorry, just
yes, absolutely. No, please.
Even for the town center, I'm just thinking where you want your town center and where Beulah residents are craving for it, you want somewhere you can walk to.
Sure.
Even if it's zoned commercial, what's the worst case scenario? Someone could, I don't know, this is a question for your staff maybe, but is there a way with the Live Local that as long as there's retail at grade where it can function as a town center, does it matter if the residential above there incorporates 40% affordable housing? That maybe if you could release a little piece of it for your town center along with your industrial land, then maybe you can get some industrial and some of the commercial uses that you so desperately need.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll look at all of the above, but the point that I was coming to was, there's a tremendous amount of aerospace activity in Mobile to our west. We've got Airbus, they're just blowing up. And so
Yeah.
there's tremendous demand for distribution. And those aren't the highest paying jobs. Those aren't necessarily the jobs that I'm going after. But right now, one county over to our east is just blowing up with their park on the interstate. So if it were a parts manufacturer, a supplier for these high-tech companies, is it your opinion that we could hold them to the standards of the master plan and still make it a viable business decision for them to locate to that field?
Yes, all it is how they position their buildings, and that the part facing the street has to be designed to a higher standard. It needs windows. It's just, you can't have a blank facade. You're going to need windows to the street. It's not that onerous at all.
Okay, I had a
And if it's
gentleman.
very deep into the site, it's okay.
I had a gentleman send 4 questions for you, but unfortunately he ain't going to get 4 questions, but I'll give you one of them. What do you think is the best way for the county, for us to execute? This is to you, Marina, to execute the master plan. It's kind of a.
Well, so I'm not an economist, but I know Peter Bazzelli, who was advising us, he would say, parcel it off piece by piece by piece. You'll create much more value and you will make more money in the long term rather than selling it all off at once. But it sounds like you're heading in that direction anyways, by virtue of the Live Local Act.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Well, I tell you what, an hour goes by quick, Marina. I appreciate you coming on, and I know that the process at points was very contentious, but what I tell the residents out there, the minute they hear anything in the news or they even watch a show like this, they panic. But if you go out there right now and you look at the field and what's been built so far, it's still a beautiful empty field. But what has been built from Navy Federal is fantastic. It's beautiful. They've built a nice, I don't know if you've been out there or seen it, Marina, but they've built a very nice recreational complex, a parking facility tastefully done off the street. They are a great partner.
I remember it.
Oh, it has come out. It has come out fantastic, and there's going to be some opportunities for the public to use that. So I'm very happy with what's happened so far. And like I've said, we came to a compromise. I live by my word. I'm gonna live by the compromise. It's just the problem is we haven't had the appetite from developers that I wish that we had, and the limited number of developers have come in with a lot of demands. And oh, by the way, one of the first demands they've had is we don't want to deal with this master plan. So, we're at the end of the day, we are subject to what the market wants. But I do appreciate your perspective and your input. I mean, I do want the taxpayers to be made whole. At the end of the day, we still owe about 14 million or so on this parcel. And, at some point we've got to do something. We know that with our Triumph Gulf Coast ask, if we move forward with the 250 acres, we will get 10 to 12 million for the infrastructure, which will recoup some of that money. And then we do think there's value in the balance of the acreage. But with Live Local, I really intend to press the board forward on moving forward with our job creation. I mean, why should we wait while these other developers, can't decide on whether or not they want to build this master plan? So I'm very, very happy to hear that you think that could work. And I certainly believe that it could as well. So with all that said, guys, yes, ma'am.
Can I say one last thing?
Yes,
Sorry,
ma'am.
no, I just wanted to say, I would just urge you because, Bueller is so deserving of a great place,
Sure.
a great town center. And I think the developers are going to default to the lowest common denominator, especially D.R. Horton that tends to do subdivisions
Sure.
and strip malls. They don't do town centers. So all I would tell you is hold their feet to the fire, and they may walk away, but someone else will come by, like a Breland, for example, that's used to doing the town centers, and they'll deliver a better product. Because to be told we want to deviate from a plan, just ask them why and get to the specifics. I would encourage your staff to say, don't tell us you want 30% deviations. Tell us exactly where you want them, and maybe we'll meet you half. We'll be able to meet 80% of them, but there's 20% we're going to hold the line on because it doesn't meet the intent.
No, that's great advice. And Marina, I can tell you this, I think that's the direction that the board has given. I mean, I really felt like that's where people were. They want us, to honor the compromise. They want us to honor the master plan. And I agree with you. Beulah does deserve it. But, stepping back from that, the entire county deserves the job that we promised them when we spent, almost 20 million of their money. So, I mean, we've got to honor the compromise, but we have to make sure all stakeholders get something out of this. So, you know, if it takes us parceling off, you know, the commercial portions to the north and then waiting for, you know, for that great offer, because I agree with you, sooner or later we'll get that great offer. And, you know, the only thing I would worry is if we really hold their feet to the fire, you know, it's going to lower the amount that we get back. But I mean, perhaps maybe that's the trade-off. The sad thing for me is what if we, you know, if we hold them too hard to the fire, maybe that part of the field never gets developed. And that would be a tragedy, because then we would never recoup the taxpayers' money completely or realize the profits that field could provide, so that we could take that money and spend it all around the rest of the county on legacy drainage and traffic infrastructure. So lots of moving parts, lots of plates spinning, but certainly appreciate you taking an hour from Paris. I hope that you're having a good trip there. I hope everything is well. Appreciate staff today for being on. Thank you guys. Thank you very much, Wes and Eric. And we're going to keep moving forward. Lots going on today at our meeting at 9 o'clock. Look forward to that. So everyone else, have a great week, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.